Y'all, it is Friday. It is the 26th of July. It's about 10:30 Central Time. This is an unscheduled meeting, and I'm doing it just to prove that I am alive. I'm not a bot. I haven't been you know, replaced. No pun intended there. And I thought I'd just get on here for a bit. We'll see how long this lasts. It could be 5 minutes. It could be 2 hours. Probably not going to be 2 hours. At least I hope not. I am sitting here in my studio. I'm wearing my red for Fridays for veterans, remembering all my deployed friends and family members and brothers and sisters in arms who are deployed around the world. And not just our country, not just our military. It's amazing. I've been trying to think lately, and it's not my forte to really think deeply. I just think in um, a scattered way. And I touch on a lot of things, and I flit here and there, and I don't really ever get anywhere. And that's a good way to be. It's kind of like a fly with a little tether to a post, and my mind will fly to a distance and then come to the end of my tether, and I go, oh, okay, I'll fly somewhere else. Not really getting far away, not exploring or doing too much, but flying nonetheless. Today, I saw a video by Robert Bubba Baker. Not sure if you guys are following Robert Bubba Baker, a gentleman up in Canada, a stoic, and a man on a journey, much like myself, like many people. And we're here on a Friday and we're exploring things and rambling about things that I guess matter for the moment. Predominantly, things that occupy my time and my mind are my diet. I'm a carnivore, so I go by the moniker Carnivore Scott. And I hang out in carnivore areas and I do carnivore things. And I'm currently on a primarily carnivorous diet. Matter of fact, I just made an appointment for an interview with Robin Heron at the Carnivorous Grandma, and I'm honored that she would want to take time to interview me, uh, such as that might be. I've also been out recently, went back out to the net and have been watching some of the carnivore influencers like Dr. Chafee, of course, Dr. Barry. But I haven't been doing a whole bunch. Hello, Lucia. How are you? Yeah, look who you found. It's kind of like, oh, well, I didn't know I was lost, but no. How are you? I think the last time we talked, in the last live I did, I remarked how this whole YouTube thing wasn't a financial um, endeavor, more of a personal accountability one. And that if I wanted to improve my finances, you were lost. No way. If I wanted to improve my finances, probably the best thing to do is to get a job. So I did. And it's given me most of what I wanted, but it isn't coming to me for free. It's kind of funny to think of it that way. I'm earning an income, a nice income, and I'm very blessed and fortunate to have it, but it isn't free. Kind of an interesting conundrum. The wife and I had some tenuous plans for the weeks and the months that we call summer. We were going to go places and we were going to do things. We were going to visit friends who live up in the Great Lakes area, or who are summering up there in the Great Lakes area, and see family, and to visit with family 2.0. Well, for him, we're family 1.0. For us, he family 2.0 because we have family, but complicated things. If you've been here, you've seen my good friend Chris, who will sometimes pop in. But no, we were going to do things. We were going to go places, see people. But Lucia, I'm the one that got lost. I got lost in the chasing a financial benefit, and it comes at a cost. My wife and I have been thinking about that a lot lately, talking about it, not just in our situation. I mean, we're fortunate, but in other people's situation, um, people who want to enjoy the things that a job can provide, or and even if not a job, how about if it's your own thing, right? Your own effort. Maybe you don't look at it as a job, but they come at a cost, and some people don't want to do anything with that. You have grown somewhat bored with all the good, yeah, carnival, and just need a real, yeah. That's where I'm at, Lucia. That's where I'm at, and I'm in it in such a way that I have so many thoughts going through my head, and I want to slow them down. I might be cogent. There are cycles within things I've noticed. I'm going to be 62 in about, oh, I don't know, 2 weeks, and in those 62 years, you start seeing things repeat, right? Yeah, overload. um, you see things and you see cycles and like seasons, and YouTube has its seasons, and there are topics in YouTube, and they get recycled and people go through, and again, I want to be cautious here. I'm not trying to be a naysayer or be negative about the um, things that happen in life. I'm not qualifying them. You know what I mean? I don't want to quantify nor qualify. It just is. And so people who are out there who are influencers who are making their living in YouTube land, I guess they have a thing to do. I mean, you really shouldn't be mad at a farmer if a farmer digs up ground. And if a farmer digs up ground and plants seeds and does everything to help that seed come to fruition, oh gosh, that's just how it is. You know, you may not like Roundup, you may not like monocropping, you may not like many of the things associated with it, but it isn't like it's a surprise. Like, oh, just this year in 2024, people started using Roundup and doing things. I mean, they have fought this battle for a long time, the farmers have. But people have hitched their wagons to it, and they're going along with it. Just like with politics. I am amazed at how people are saying, this is the most important election. These are the worst of times, all that stuff. And I wonder what people thought, in 1864 during the Civil War here in the States, right? Or in 1914, 1912, 1935 in Europe, 37 in Europe, and 1942 in Europe and in Japan and in the Pacific, all around the world was on fire. The world's always on fire. Sometimes that fire is hotter. Sometimes the fire is hot for you and nobody else. And we're left here to deal with it. And so it comes down to, how are you doing with the world, and what tools are you using, if you want to call them tools? What are you using to cope? Is that it? Coping? Is that it? I'm gonna go ahead and put that up real quick. That is all is needed. Our carnivore kilos are needed, but I am harvesting my good habits. Yeah, there you go. Good habits. I think along with good habits, or a good habit, is that aspect of reevaluating things and trying to look at them in as much an objective manner as you can. I mean, objectivity, right, is in the eyes of the beholder, and the eye of the beholder has filters, and those filters will impact objectivity because you're going to be measuring. And anytime you measure, that means there's conflict, right? If you're going to measure how long something is, then you're also measuring how long it isn't, right? Or how tall it is or how tall it isn't, or you'll subdivide within it. So there's a lot of conflict, even in our language that we use. And sitting back and doing that whole being there, doing the whole observing thing, and then you try to be, uh, how do you put it? I don't want to say standoffish, but you try to pull away from it. So you're observing an aspect about your life or your habits or the things. But what's the difference between what's being observed and the observer? There is no difference. So in your mind, you play the Jedi tricks, and perhaps it would be advantageous to not put a level of differentiation within our lives, because that puts that conflict in our lives. And there's so much, and I mean conflict from the truest sense. If you want to take that absolute value of the idea of conflict, not the media conflict and the conflict we have in our lives. I mean, this morning, it's Friday. I like to give myself just a little bit of time to sleep in on Fridays, give myself an extra half hour. Woohoo. And there's a conflict. Do I get up? Do I get up, prepare myself, and come to work? Now, lucky for me, going to work isn't that difficult. The hardest part is getting past the coffee pot. And trust me, I found it today. Yes, I did. And then you add all these things up in your day. And if you really want to know, if you really want to know where you're spending your time and what you're doing, get alone. Get alone, and put yourself in a little bit of isolation. Now, for me, that might mean my wife going on a trip to go visit family, or going to do something and being gone all day, all night, maybe the next day, right? All of a sudden, you're like, wow, there's a lot of hours in the day. You're like, what have I been doing with those hours? Why does my day seem so filled in this situation and so empty in that one? And I'm still the same person. It's almost like that phenomenon on Friday nights. Do you all remember that when you were younger? I'm not saying that you all aren't young, and I'm not saying that any of you are old. But birds of a feather tend to flock together. I'm going to be 62, so I'm going to go out on a limb and say 35 to 75 going to be my sweet spot. And how when you were 20 years old, 24 years old, you could work Monday through Friday, the usual things, get all the way through hump day, get through Thursday, get to Friday. Now you've worked your 40, 50, 60 hours, whatever your job is, whether it was in the office or working out with your hands and doing things of that nature. But Friday shows up, and there's such a mental focus on Fridays, TGIF, right? Oh, you're going to go and do something Friday night, or maybe it's for the weekend. I'm going to do something. And you'll get up at 6 o'clock on a Saturday morning because you're going to go visit a castle or go whitewater rafting or go on a hike, a picnic, a birthday, to visit family. You're excited for it, you know, but don't feel that way on Tuesday. It's all about that mental aspect. So I think the same thing comes here. Lucia, you talk about um, uh, overload and talks about harvesting good habits. Well, part of that harvesting good habits, I think, circles back to be having some sense of awareness, and that awareness accounts, and not just only accounts, but is also um, part of what we eat and how we feel and things we do. If I sit here all day in my chair and I only get up 5 times in 8 hours, maybe 7 times, 6 times in 8 hours, I walk about 40 steps, get another cup of coffee, take a nature break, come back, sit back down, hammer out, get on some telecons and some video conferences. 8 hours has gone by that I'm not getting back. 4 hours might have gone into YouTube, watching YouTube shorts. I do that at nighttime, and not a great habit. How it's not a great habit. And then I wonder why maybe all this effort I'm doing on my diet isn't yielding some of the remarkable things you hear. You know, you go into YouTube land and you look at carnivores and you'll see a thing. I lost 85 pounds in the last 6 months. Didn't exercise a lick. And I don't doubt it. But that's not what's happening for me, right? And and then I'm reminded of all the different things I've done over the years to try to cheat the system. Have you ever cheated the system? Have you ever thought about a get rich quick scheme, or, oh, wow, if I'll take this pill, or if I'll, take this class, or if I'll go to this job or go to this city, I'll get to this epitome of what I think is a successful point quicker. I won't have to pay the piper. I remember when I was younger, I was dream a lot. I worked when I was in the military. I had a lot of free time on my hands because I was a weather guy. I would watch the weather. Literally, that was my job. Watch the weather. I was a weather observer. And a weather observer in north central Texas during the winter and most of the fall and some of the spring was pretty boring. It was clear skies, no weather. So you had to do something. And then I did forecasting in Albuquerque, and that would be the same thing. So during no period of time, and then I went to Germany and I did some other things, but there's a lot of time where you could be on shift and there's no significant weather. Every hour on the hour, I go to take my weather report. Let's see. Yeah, it's a little bit windy, got a little bit of temperature, got some pressure, blah, 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 blah. Sky condition, okay. Type it all in, send it out. And now what am I going to do for the next 55 minutes? Because it's not going to change. And every 3 hours, I'd have to get on the radar and look for anything. No, nothing on the radar. And then you put your report out. A lot of time on my hands. So I would read, and then I get bored reading. I'd listen to music. I get bored doing that. And what would I end up doing? Trying to think, and not well. And then I go, I got to find a way to get from here to there quicker and better and faster and cheaper and more profitable. In that vein, I went ahead and started inventing things. And it was real big in the 90s to have invent things and go to Invention Inc. or Inventors Inc. or whatever it is and get a patent on things. So I did that. Yeah. I was going to be wealthy on my garden weasel tool, and I got a patent. Yay, me. 6 grand. Or the time I got involved in Amway, not once, not twice, but 3 times. 3 times. Amway. Sell soap. I made a little money. And on and on and on, right? Now here I'm going to be 62. I didn't make double diamond or emerald or ruby or anything in Amway. I didn't get a penny. I got to pay back most of that money I borrowed from my mother-in-law and father-in-law. Thank you. Didn't get rich quick there. Here's what I did do. I went to work every day. I would go to work, hi ho, it's off to work we go. Went to work. And I lived and I participated and I put a little bit back here and there. And I listened here and there. And I didn't listen nearly enough. I should have got involved in Microsoft way back in 1990 when I had a chance and I had all this extra cash that I was just foolishly spending on foolish things like a foolish young man. But I didn't. But I did get a little bit of this, and I got a little bit of that. And there's a purpose, I guess, forming in my mind in all this. I didn't spend all my time in Dreamsville and I didn't spend enough time in preparednessville. Preparednessville? You get the idea. What I did is I went back and forth, and I spent a lot of time in, um, um, not incoherent, even though there was a period of time of incoherence. I probably spent a lot of time in treading water. Yeah, not even realizing I was treading water. I thought I was doing something. And part of what I was, I had a young family. I met my wife. I had my children, the biggest blessings of my life. But I wasn't always dreaming and I wasn't always preparing. I was just living, right? Get all the way to today, and I see too many people, not too many people, but I see a lot of people going, gosh, I want what you have, but I don't want to have to do the work you did. Well, I felt the same way, but that's not how it happens. Lucia says, "I'm just opposite. I live in New Mexico and Arizona, Washington, and several states where they have casino and never input a quarter." Well, that's good. I'm agreeing with you here. All right, I am not that type of gambler. Even when I was in the military and the guys would pull up with the old, "Hey, we're gonna go play poker." I probably played poker. I have a number of I could put on this hand with only half a thumb and still have fingers left over. It just wasn't my deal. And my mother-in-law, she loved to go gambling, and I was the only one who would go with her pretty much because the smoking didn't bother me because I used to smoke, and the alcohol didn't bother me because I used to drink. And so it was a way we could bond, but I didn't do that. No, 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 I was not a gambler. But give me a call, oh, man. That's right. And it's another part of that, Lucia. Uh, yep. Not even their money. Yep. Never bought a lot. Now I'll buy a lottery ticket now and then, but here's my rationale. Even though we've won little bits here and there, my rationale is the amount of time we play the game of what are you going to do if we win? I count that as entertainment time. If it takes me half an hour to go get the ticket because they don't sell them here in Alabama, we talk about on the way up. We have a little bit of time. We have time during it. I get to have fun with the clerks. And then on the way home, what are we going to do? Blah blah blah. And we do it very infrequently. And so I do it for the entertainment value. Whatever way you want to go to a movie, maybe, right? But yeah, I'm not a gambler like that by nature. But I did go out and buy whole life insurance when I was young and in my 30s. Yeah. And so now, I can kind of cover things and help my family out because one day I am going to die. I will, right? But it isn't just gambling with money that we can find ourselves in a negatively impacted situation. I'll give you another one. So I came in the military and I was a bit older than the average junior enlisted person. I wasn't old, but just a little bit. A lot of people go in at 18. I went in at 22. So I went 19, yeah, 22. I was 22 years old. So when I got through all my basic trainings and stuff, and I went to school, my next follow-on schools, I was older than most 18-year-olds, and they couldn't do certain things, and they didn't have any wherefore because they went from high school to the military, and I'd been working and doing whatever. So I had a little bit of financial advantage, itty bitty. And so, like, I bought a VCR and a TV so I could watch videos and stuff, right? Well, I have my friends, they were like, "Hey, can we bring a movie over and watch it in your VCR and all that?" And I was like, what kind of movie are we talking about here?" And I lived in an apartment with two other gentlemen, so we kind of shared this really nice apartment when we were stationed in Germany. And what happened is they wanted to watch a movie called Faces of Death. Faces of Death. I was like, now, to set this up, I don't do horror. I don't do any horror. I have seen horrible things. We'll just leave it there, right? And even as a younger person. And so I don't like horror. I don't like any aspect. I don't like suspense. I'm not a real big fan of whodunits. I don't like crossword puzzles. I'm just not that guy. probably to my own detriment. But I just don't like it. So these guys want to watch this movie, these movies called Faces of Death, and I'm like, well, I'm not going to do. You can, but I'm not going to do it. And since it's on my TV in my apartment, here's what we're going to do. You're going to pay for my taxi ride downtown, and you're going to pay for my beer. And they say, okay. And they'd fork over some money. They all give a little bit of money up, and I'd go downtown, have some beers, whatever, and I'd come home and I'd be loopy, but hey, and they'd watch their movies and had their fun. Well, be careful what you invest in, because when the harvest comes, the seed you've sown, if it comes to fruition, you're going to be paying the piper, and they paid the piper. And I had one of them call me one time. We were talking. They go, yeah, he still had nightmares that use for fodder the things they had watched in those movies. Not me. I don't have those nightmares because I haven't put those pictures in my head. Now I have my own pictures and I have my own subject matter for nightmares, so to speak. But yeah, no. So that's what I mean. A gambler, you get. I think it would be a great topic. You gamble with a lot of things in your heart and your mind. You really do. And that's why I love this comment of yours where you say, I think it has a difference between hope and faith. Absolutely. Hope and faith. For years, you can't, okay. I can't say I haven't done that. I've been an actor. So I've been in movies, movies and little roles and extra roles and stunt roles and stand-in roles and some small speaking roles here and there, but a featured extra in big movies. But I liked that stuff, and yeah, um, I think seeking, you know, attention maybe, but yeah, I've done theater and then TV, and I like to watch something like we're watching the Chosen series right now, of the wife and I. Well, I like it. It fills a block for me in the entertainment. I think we do need entertainment in our lives. I I could be wrong, but um, I tell you what, all work and no play makes for a boring Scotty. How about you all? I mean, I would hope that there's something that we each do that are for fun and entertainment. Do y'all have anything that you do for your entertainment or hobby wise? I know I like to do a lot of things. Like I was working on carving another mushroom out of a piece of wood. I'm not sure what this is, but yeah, carving, a little hand carving things here, and I I have my pavilion out back, my wood burning palace, so to speak, and my wood burning palace has become a haven for the birds, and that's no bueno because birds make messes. So I have been making little shiny dangly dangly with a bell. There's a little bell on the end, and I've been putting these together. I went and bought a bunch of beads, and they're kind of reflective, holographic. There you can kind of see it. And I'm hanging these around in my pavilion to help distract, I hope, the birds with a little sound, a little glittery impact. This. What do you have here? I have another one I built here, but I have a few out there yet. So sometimes while I'm sitting here at the old work plots, I'll put my dangly danglies and build a dangly dangly. Yeah. Yes. That's, I guess, part of a support network for my hobby of burning wood, right? I was just looking this morning at the pavilion, and I've been wanting to go out to burn wood, but when it's 90 degrees outside, sitting in front of a fire just doesn't seem to work. At least not for me. I have all sorts of little beads. I went to Did I go to Michael's? I did. I went to Michael's and I bought a whole bunch of these beads, are kind of shiny beads, and little mirrors, and all sorts of dangly danglies. And I have a pan over here, so I can sit here and I can thread it. And I'm using fishing line. I'm using spider wire. Spider wire is really strong and really thin, and this is a 6 pound test, just in case it gets windy, and I don't want them getting broken off. So anyhow, but there's a Friday midday. Do you agree with that? I don't do horror. Yeah, yeah. You see horror in life. Yeah, exactly, exactly, and that can take a lot of different forms, right? That horror. I think there's that physical horror, you know, but it's an emotional one that really sometimes gets to me, and I think that's where I am personally very vulnerable to emotional um, pain and distress. It hurts me, and I get so. Is it? I don't remember. Is it empathetic or sympathetic? I don't know. I don't know. But we're here on Friday with a great big carnivore channel and not really talk a lot about carnivore. So I'm gonna spend a minute talking about carnivore. I know, huh? Odd that a carnivore would talk about carnivore stuff. So yesterday was a good day. Oh, this past week has been a real good week. 2 weeks ago, not so not so good. I did well. I did well. I'm looking to see. Oh, my phone is charged. Okay. Live off my phone, right? So what am I looking at? We're in July, right? And boopity boopity okay, so my granddaughter came to stay with us, and I was so happy about that. It was one of those things that got kind of interrupted by me having a job. But on the flip side, it gave more time for my wife to bond with my granddaughter, which I think is a good thing. But my granddaughter came, right about the 6th of July and stayed, through the 13th. Her mom and her brother and sister came down also to pick her up and take her back home. So right about, I would say, the 6th of July, I kinda went weak on the carnivore, and then I went no bueno last week. So last week I had a couple of no bueno times on a carnivore. I I went ahead and went off plan a little bit. And I mean, I didn't go whole hog off plan on every day, but just a little bit each day. And yeah, I paid for it. Matter of fact, what did I do? So, so I went out with some friends. Well, we did some off stuff and I ate some off things. I had some cookies one night. It was a Friday night, Tuesday. Tuesday? Yeah. Was it Tuesday or Thursday last week? Can't remember. But I went off plan and I ended up, I want to maybe it was Wednesday night, Thursday night. Went off plan and we were playing that game of dominoes. It's I think they call it Crazy Train or something like that. Some people will have a variation called Chicken Foot. So we were playing that and went off the reservation, so to speak, and had some cookies. I mean, a couple of cookies is not like the end of the world. And the next day I didn't go further off. But that was in concert with the prior week with the granddaughter, a little bit off here, a little bit off there. Then this, a little bit off here, a little bit. Culminated in this week on Tuesday, going off the reservation for dinner. And I went to a place called Duke's and had a patty melt on rye. And I ate the whole thing. I left a little bit of the crust. I had tater tots with it. I ate most of the tater tots. And then the wife had made a recipe she called monkey bread. Taking biscuits but she made them sweet monkey bread with a brown sugar glaze coat and all that. And I ate a little bit of that. It was one little slice, right? Again, volume wise, not a whole bunch, but I haven't been doing that much of any of that. All right. I was so not good that night. I sat in that chair right there and I did not feel well. I could not go to bed until about 2:30 in the morning, and it totally ruined my, following day. Thursday was a shot. I came in here to work and I was like, you know, barely keep my focus, and I had to have my coworkers help me out. My blood sugar was way high. It was ugly, but I was so bloated. And I've been watching these videos and I've been thinking to myself, and that is again is not my strong suit. Just because I do it often doesn't mean I do it well. But I think what happens, I have residual gut bacteria that are hyper responsive to breads and grains and sugars. And oh, the bloating. Oh my gosh. It is absolutely horrific. So I had that bad day Wednesday, Tuesday. Wednesday was a negative recovery day. Thursday we started seeing a positiveness, and today Friday I feel much better. Yesterday I did great and all this week I did pretty good on breakfast because I've just been having eggs for breakfast. And most days here lately I've been even eating just raw eggs. I'll just get my shaker cup. I'll crack 5, 6. Yesterday was 7 eggs into a shaker cup. I'll put in a little bit of that new Wonder sugar that's out there, right? Allulose, just a little bit of that, and a little dollop of heavy cream, like maybe a tablespoon, 2 tablespoons of heavy cream. I'll shake it up and I'll drink it down like an eggnog, and it doesn't disagree with me. I don't have any upset stomach from it. It's great. Then I'll have some meat for lunch and meat for dinner. Yesterday I had about uh, 12 to 14 ounces of ribeye for lunch, and then last night I had another 10 ounces of chuck roast for dinner. Now the chuck roast I had cooked, the ribeye I had raw. Now I've eaten some raw beef before, but never that much raw beef. I'm not dead yet. Now we'll keep an eye on that. I'm gonna check my pulse. Yeah, I got a pulse. Um, I haven't died. It's not gonna be normal for me, but I did notice even after one day of eating properly over the week pretty much, other than the one falling down point, that, my body is responding and I'm getting the vascularity and some, just losing some water weight. Hey, it's my good friend Woodster, my friend. How are you? Listening to your work currently, no matter how addictive. Yep, food. Yep. We do, and it's a day by day thing. Absolutely. Thank you, my friend. I hope all's well with the family. You have a you had an correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't you have another child on the way? I'll wait. I know you're busy. You're doing things, but the struggle that you're talking about there, Brent, it's really we can look at it like that. I'm pondering this, looking at our struggles. If we call it a struggle, are we inherently making it more difficult? Call it a challenge, or if we sit there and say, you know what, like the wind. Again, watching The Chosen and listening to things. When it talks in Scripture about where does the wind come from, where is it going, and of course they didn't know. Now, being a weather guy, I have a better understanding of wind, but the analogy I think still works, right? We have things that we know have an impact on us, and we know how those things will be. It's not necessarily a negative thing nor a positive thing. I think it's just a thing. Yep. If I slam my finger in the door, it's going to hurt. It's not a negative thing. It tells me don't put my hand in the door. The food isn't inherently negative, inherently evil, inherently bad. It's just the response to it is not good, not what I need or want in my life. And that helped me to not make it such a challenge. Like I got to make a challenge out of it. No, I don't. All right, next show. Yes, you do. We now have a 1 month old. Yes, there you go. Congratulations, congratulations to you and your family. 1 month old. Wow, that's tired times. You got the 2-year old and the 4. Now the 4-year old, I suspect, is responding quite well. How's the 2-year-old doing with this addition to the family? The middle child now. I hope the middle child, the 2-year-old, um, I hope the 2-year-old will come to understand that they didn't do anything to cause this. I was a middle child for a long time, well, for 5 years, and I think sometimes a middle child, now this is, remember, I'm gonna be 62 here pretty soon. I think sometimes children get ideas and opinions about the world, and those ideas and opinions they get are valid to them in that moment. The question for parents is helping a child resolve those and put those in perspective going forward. So, for instance, my 2 older brothers were much more capable at everything than I was. Duh. The hard thing for my parents, the thing that they were not as successful in doing for great reasons, because it's the same thing every other parent in the world does, right? They're busy living life and providing, and my father was an excellent provider. But letting the younger children know that they're not really supposed to compare themselves to their brother and sister, even though that's the norm. We understand it, but that's not really what we need to be doing. And I'll give an example. So my middle brother, he is an excellent guitarist and a singer, and he was in choir and he did the guitar thing, and he's good. He's good. He's really smart too. Um, I always wanted to be able to sing. I love singing. I love it. And I've got multiple guitars. I still don't know how to play them, but I have them. But I always held myself to a standard of his, how he was. And I never got it in my head. No, that's him, not you. And hey, you've got to learn and you've got to do the work. Remember I was talking about that earlier, that you got to put in the work. You can't expect to be a guitar player without putting in the work, without practicing. Anyhow, I remember I tried to sing like Simon and Garfunkel, or that harmonizing music, and I didn't realize it was two people. One was singing the melody, and another singing the harmony. I didn't understand any of that, and I sounded like crap. And to this day, I'll sing in any key at any time. Yeah. I think one of the roles a parent has is to reinforce to each child their own uniqueness, their own capability, and to make sure they understand you are on the right glide path. You're on the right approach for your, age appropriate development. And that your brother might be better. You can aspire to do better. You always aspire to do better, but don't beat yourself up. And my oldest brother, he's older than me. He was bigger than me most of the time until he wasn't. And that presented unique problems. So parenting, tough stuff. Tough stuff. Okay, both are doing well. Good. It's mom, dad that yeah, I know. Huh? Very almost day. It was 3 and can't do much for themselves. Yep. You're right. Now you have family nearby, I trust, and your church family. I know you have a church family, and this is the time. This is the time, my friend, where you lean into your church family and some of your extended family for a 30-minute break or a 2-hour break, that break that you can get for you and the wife. Maybe we at my church in Albuquerque, they had a wonderful program where we could drop our kids off for a couple hours some days, and we could just do, husband and wife stuff. Sometimes it was just stuff with the oldest child, right? Yeah, you need almost like a respite care. All right. So we are now getting to, oh yeah, you are. You got it. You're going to get it. Yep. Everybody's saying, hey, but it's a wonderful time, very dynamic time. And this is where you pay it forward too. So like, I remember there was Mac and Lonnie Mons. They were wonderful for us at First Baptist of Albuquerque. They had a wonderful men's ministry that did some wonderful things to help us out because I didn't have two pennies to put into a proverbial pot if I had a pot. Everything was going to the family. Three children, just like you, the Brett, three children, full-time job, tough times, and they would just my station chief would give me a break, and people gave me a break. People would, let me go early, let me come a little late, go to medical appointments, all those things, right? I remember my station chief, Rick. I still have it. He gave a whole bunch of Hot Wheels cars, and my daughter loved Hot Wheels. She already had a bunch, but he gave all his kids that he had Hot Wheels to us, and I still have them and more. We have a lot of Hot Wheel cars, and but doing things to help us as a young family, right? Well, when I got older and my kids grew up, it's my turn to help the young family. And to this day, we're still doing it because we still have a debt of gratitude to society for the moments. Like I was deployed, Operation Joint Endeavor. I was away and my wife was left alone. I was Air Force, but I was working for the Army. And my wife lived in the Army community, but the Army community wasn't they weren't my supervisors. I was attached, but they weren't over the top. So there were no direct relationships. So my wife was all alone, basically, in a foreign country with three children they get sick and this, that, and other. It's over Christmas. And my wife got pneumonia. And I had a phone and I actually called my neighbors and I got a hold of him. I said, look, my wife will never ask you for help. But could you? And so that's great. I worked for the Army. I was in the Air Force. Army wasn't aware of anything. And the Air Force people we lived amongst didn't have anything to do with me because I was geographically separated. So isolated in a sea of people, of good people. So my wife would never ask anybody for any help for any reason. That's how she is. She is independent. And I called my neighbor friends up and I said, hey, can you throw me a bone? Can you go help her out? And they went and grabbed the kids and they stayed overnight just to let her get healthy. Well, we're still paying that back. We're still helping people because that's where it's at. So Brett, it's going to be very hard for you as a young man and a man with a moral code and a sense of conviction of right and wrong and proper and improper, all that. But people will offer to you to help out, lean into it. If not for you, for your wife. All right. I know you probably heard this. I know you probably know it, but I felt that it's good to be said because you're going to get the opportunity to pay it back. Trust me. My children are 35, 31, and 30, 32 and 30. And we'll still have the opportunity to pour into their lives, right? And I suspect that will go on until the day I die. And they will pour into mine, and they do, and it's a wonderful thing. And Lucia, you spoke about this earlier, but I think this goes in line with what you were saying about the carnivore community is full of people, and people are so much more than carnivore. We are so much more than carnivore. Carnivore is important. I mean, our bodies are important. Our physical well-being is important. Our emotional well-being is important. And so we have maybe a duty to remember to get that perspective thing worked out where we say, yes, the carnivore is important. And I like to listen to other people who've walked the walk. I like to listen to Dr. Rob Cyrus. I like to listen to Dr. Baker, and I like to listen to, Dr. Barry and all Dr. Hampton and Dr. Chafee and all these people. Some of it getting to be repetitive after a year because it's been a little over a year now since I've been doing carnivore, by the way. My 1-year carniversary went by and I didn't make a video about, me. Okay, I'm done. But the community is so much more than the focused effort. Sometimes I think of changing my channel name, but I'm so invested into it now. Why would I do that? But Brett, having you check back in the middle of the day, and I know you're busy in a one-arm paper hanger. Um, Having you check back in the day, it does my heart good. I saw Robert Bubba Baker back out there and putting things out again, and that's great because you kind of get a kinship. All of us who kind of came in to the movement at the same time. We've built relationships, and I appreciate that. I was to say, yep, my wife's the same, but I can see her softening it a little bit. Yeah, right, exactly. And maybe we can use a word like assist because words matter. You know, just speaking from a scriptural point of view, words have a lot of impact. God spoke. Our words have a lot. So if we were to we use it to assist, right? I'm just assisting a little bit for the moment. It's not a big effort on my part. Like my wife is working diligently with a couple, and there's a friendship there, and it's my wife's friendship, so therefore it's become my friendship, but it's not my friendship on its own merits, if that makes any sense, by association. There are times when I agree to things and doing things because it's what my wife would like. And other times it's something I like too. I mean, I actually take it on. It's a joy for me. Not all the time, either way. Probably more often, it isn't. I think it's a skill set we all should work on, in that we can parse, if you would, that we could parse things out and not be too rigid. Does that make sense at all? Does that make any sense? That in a being too rigid, or in being rigid, there's comfort because you have expectations, but then when there's a change, there's a stress, and stress is really the long pole in the tent of health. And I know that stress can be good. We need some stresses. What do they call that? Hormetic stress. We need some stress. Our bodies need some stress. We need the stress of temperature change for things to happen. We need the stress of calories in, calories out, exercise, all those stressors. I think they fall under the bell curve. Let's just use a bell curve. If your stress falls under the bell curve, it's stress to get up in the morning. For some of us, a little bit more than others. But getting up in the morning, that's why your blood glucose goes up a little bit, because a few hours earlier, your stress hormones were released, right? So it isn't to say with an absolute value, no word pipe, that the stress is absolutely negative. No, there's some good stresses. But then we all know that really negative stresses. The negative stresses on a spectrum in my life tend to increase. I would sit there, if I could make a mathematical formula, it would be, there's a proportional and direct relationship between stress and my view of self. So the more I think about myself in a situation, generally speaking, the more stress I'm going to have. And the less I think of myself, the lower my stress. Make sense? Does this have bearing on things we've learned all of our lives? Yeah, I think so. So when we apply it to food, how much of the stress of when we're eating, how much of a focus do we have? How much of a focus do I have that when I'm eating, the things I'm eating are from myself. I mean, from my desire, from my wants. I just had a tortilla. I know that tortilla has 16 grams of carbohydrates, but I had fat. But the fat was cream cheese that I mixed a little bit of chocolate syrup in. But I also put some not macadamia nuts, cashews. All of that all of that reflects a desire from myself. Desire from myself, that means that my stress went up. Now I'm going to have a physiological stressing moment from the increased carbohydrates, sugars, etc., right? Whereas if I just take a minute to look at it and go, is this coming from me? My ego, my mind, my habits, my past? Or is this coming from a physiological understanding of what my body needs, what my body requires? That's absolutely right, what's there, Brett. Absolutely, it was to serve others. So I served myself and I had my snack, and now I have my consequences. Speaking of consequences and things like that, I didn't know the time had gotten away. And here we are about 11:30. And I've got to get to a meeting. And that's how that is. So I'm going to have to bid you adieu. Adieu, adieu, adieu. What is that from The Sound of Music? Au revoir. No, how'd that song go? I don't remember. Anyhow, I'm going to let you all go. Appreciate you joining me today. Hey, congratulations again, Brett. Congratulations to your wife and to your little ones, to your growing family. Appreciate you dropping by and commenting. And we'll see you around the neighborhood. I'll do some more of these daytime things, I think. But just want to let people know I was here, I was alive, I'm still doing carnivore stuff, and so much more. Take care now. Peace, prayers, and blessings for each one of you. God bless. Bye-bye.